Welcome to the 100th episode, yes, of Mind Myself's podcast, Conversations with E. I'm E, or Esther, whichever you prefer. And it has been my pleasure to have so many amazing conversations with fabulous people who have very different perspectives on so many things. And today is no exception. Uh, Vanessa Cardenas, welcome to Mind Myself.
Oh, Esther, I am so excited for our conversation. Oh, 100 episodes. My goodness. Like that in and of itself. Isn't that syndication? Isn't that when
I
a
have
show
no
goes into
idea.
syndication?
I
Yeah,
don't know. I'm just having conversations, and it happens to be 100 now.
absolutely. It's glorious. It absolutely is. And your ability to draw things out of people is exceptional. It
Thank you.
absolutely is. And you have a way of bringing out the best in people sometimes when they're not even aware of it. And you extract it in such a beautiful way, and you allow for your guests and your audience to feel to feel the conversation, so they're not just on the outside, they're actually here in the room with us, so that they can hear it and they can participate, because though you and I are talking, it's still a dialogue with others because there's a conversation going on in the head. Absolutely.
Absolutely. I love that. And before we dive into this, what's going to be a rich and juicy conversation, and thank you so much for those lovely things you just said, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Mm. Well, my name is Vanessa Cardenas, and I'm a relationship reset expert with a specialty in betrayal recovery. That's a lot. And no one studies betrayal unless you've been through it. And I went through it almost a decade ago. And I found myself on my bedroom floor, just agony. And I asked God, source spirit, for a reprieve. Please, I need a reprieve. And I heard it like a thunderbolt. You have to help someone else. No. You're not listening to me. I need the help. And I heard it again. You have to help someone else. And I finally relented. And I said, okay, I will help someone else. And I finally slept for the first time in weeks. And the next day I woke up, and I'm not going to say it was a miracle. No, not at all. But 1 degree, one little pivot, I felt a little better. And I got to work. I found a support group. I found an amazing mentor who cultivated me and pulled things out just like you pull things out. And it's been a joyous ride since. I have been on various stages, I've been on various podcasts. I have had the opportunity of flying overseas across the pond to Oxford University to speak on their stage. It has been amazing, absolutely amazing that something so horrific can lead to such beauty. And it does. And it, it, it's, it, it gets me choked up every single time, because a great mentor said something to me that really hit me right there, right there. Said, Vanessa, you're going to have a new relationship. You get to decide who that's with. And that was very true, because I chose my husband. Yes, we are still married. We will be celebrating 35 years next week. It does have an asterisk, which means, wait, there's more to the story. But yeah, that more to the story is that betrayal was there, and we both had a willingness to do the necessary work to move through it so that we could be right where we are today. And it's a brand new relationship. It truly is, because I'm a new person, he's a new person, and we have a new relationship. And I am grateful. And I know that sounds really odd, but I am, because had that not happened, I wouldn't be here with you. And you and I have had an amazing, amazing friendship over the years, because you have been a guide for me, and you have been so gracious with who you are. And I'm honored that you chose me for number 100. Absolutely. So we're
My
going to have a great conversation.
Absolutely. And I just want to reflect one thing back. The line you said about you get to choose what relationship you want to have. And I think that's not just with the other person, but what relationship you want to have with yourself. And I think that's so key. And I know we're going to be exploring that a little bit further. Tell us where you practice. I know you do
Ooh.
online stuff, but where are you located? Because that's key.
That is key because you can tell I have a little bit of an accent. I have a little bit of grit. Well, I'm in New York. I'm in Westchester County, New York, about 40 miles outside of New York City, but I was raised in Manhattan. So I got a little bit of that common sense grit to me. Absolutely. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to work locally because when you work locally, you affect your community because betrayal and hard relationship moments, they trickle out. They do. They trickle to our children, that trickle to school, that trickle to other parents, that trickle to the community. And suddenly it's bubbling over. And when I have the opportunity to work with couples or individuals to alleviate some of that angst that they're feeling and know that there is hope on the other side, they just have to hold on because the pain does end, whether they choose to stay or they choose to go. As long as they have the clarity to make that decision, what's best for them, that warms my heart. Absolutely warms
Mhm.
my heart.
It's so great that you're doing this deep work. And I don't hear a lot of people talking about betrayal. I mean, maybe on social media or in consequential places, but this is a consequential conversation and it's a consequential situation that people are experiencing all over the place. Not just betrayal in life partner relationships, but betrayal in the workplace, betrayal between friends, or among friends, betrayal in so many different scenarios. And I know at Mind Myself, we often tend to focus on physical, but it's body, mind, and spirit. And so a betrayal is a key topic that many of us ignore or just think, wow, why, how do we even begin? So I'm so grateful that you're here talking about this today. Let's begin with reinvention. We've talked, the title of this is 100 ways to reset without reinventing your life. Tell me a little bit about reinvention and what you mean specifically about that.
I find that a lot of people come into my office and they expect a grandiose epiphany, a moment in time where they have the solution and the solution is there and they want it so desperately because they want to feel better because they're in so much pain, they're so sad, all their emotions, the avalanche of emotions flood in and on a dime it will switch from anger to sadness to tears to confusion. Confusion's a big one. Like, what did I do? Because we take it on. We do. We wonder what about us caused this situation. And that's a lot of work
Hmm.
to negate that because though something terrible has happened to you, it wasn't about you.
Hmm.
That's a really hard concept to wrap our minds around. It took me a long time to do so as well. I resisted that. No, it has to be something that I did. Had to be something that I did. He's not at fault. I'm at fault. And and he, in my particular case, my husband took accountability right away. He did. He also wanted to kind of, push it aside, like it's
Hmm.
okay. I'll do the work and whatnot, and we'll be fine. We'll just go back to the way we were. Yeah, no, no, that doesn't happen. So when we think about reinventing our lives, we think of it in a grandiose way. And I invite people to slow it down. Just slow it down. You do have time. And the reinvention is incremental. It's not massive. but you suddenly realize at a moment in time, you look back and those triggers that used to agitate you and get you all worked up, that would last for days, sometimes weeks. Now you get through it and it's an hour, it's a half hour, it's 10 minutes, it's 5 minutes, it's just a little prick. And you're like, yeah, okay. Yeah, I see it. Thank you for reminding me. I've got it from here. Because we tend to have a nasty chick voice in our head. Oh yeah, that wants to tell us and beat us down constantly. And part of that reinvention is having those conversations with our nasty chick, our inner critic, and letting them know, listen, I know you want to protect me, but I got this.
Yeah.
I got this. I can
I'm
take care of myself.
exactly. I'm hearing you, but you're not driving the bus. I will listen to what you're saying as it serves me, but when it doesn't, you got to go to the back of the bus.
Correct, correct. So I work on a reset rather than a reinvention. A reset is a recalibration because when you go through something catastrophic, your heart and your mind, oh, they're disconnected. Logic just feels like it goes out the window. Your heart just feels like it's going to be ripped out of your chest because it beats so hard during those moments of triggers, and you feel like you're having a heart attack. Absolutely. And it's so overwhelming. And when we learn techniques to slow it all down, so we can see it for what it is, not what we're imagining it to be. Because when we have holes in stories, we fill them. We do, not necessarily with the truth, but
We
we
make
fill
stuff
them.
up. We make stuff.
Absolutely. To make us feel better. And sometimes making us feel better is actually pain shopping. We go down that rabbit hole because we know what the pain feels like. We know it. It's gut wrenching. We hate it, but we also know what it feels like. We have certainty that we're going to feel this way. We're going to have a pit in our stomach, everything, all of those nuances because we feel it viscerally, but we're addicted to the certainty of the pain. And a lot of times, what happens, especially working with clients, is that when they discover joy, when they laugh in my office, I'll say something funny, humorous, purposely, so that they can laugh and they catch themselves as if they are not allowed to feel joy or to laugh. And that is absolutely not. You have to feel the joy. You have to gravitate towards those things. And I'm not talking about, toxic positivity. No, but there are good things in your life. There truly are. You just have to identify them. You have to see them. And when you see them, you thank God, source spirit. Thank you for that. You get a green light when it's usually red. Thank you. You know what's going to happen? The next day it's going to be green. And the next day after that, because it synchronizes, because you've noticed it. So notice those positive things so that you can reinvest, reset your calibration every single day because it's incremental. It truly is.
I love that idea too. It's over time, incremental over time, as you've said. Sometimes it's been set up in this modern Western society that you take a pill or it's a silver bullet that will, magically cure every. It's not. I don't think anything is. I shouldn't make anything and nothing statements, but very few things are one single little pill and off you go and it's all cured. It's a process, and we have to be willing. And not everyone is going to feel like the explosion. Some people are going to be quietly in agony, and
Mhm.
and the whole range of emotion and everything in between the extremes, it's all valid and it's part of our human experience of when we feel betrayed. It can manifest in many different ways.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And one of the interesting things in my particular case, and I did a very interesting infographic on this because before my husband said those three words to me, I've met someone. I had been to so many doctors because I had a whole slew of things that I felt were wrong with me health wise. And I got tested for everything. And I got diagnosed for everything. Well, after the betrayal was discovered and brought to light, uh, all those things pretty much went away because
Mm.
I realized I actually had two things. I had intuition and I had a cheating husband. And my body knew before logically I knew. It
Mm.
just knew and it manifested in here. And this became the coffin for all of those emotions. But I wasn't in tune with myself. And
Mm.
all the excuses, oh, you're going through menopause or perimenopause, or you have, irritable syndrome, all the syndromes and all the everything, you name it. And I got tested for it because I didn't feel well. Like I just didn't feel well. And I tried very hard to mask it. And there it was. There it was. Right after we disclosed and we started working with an army of support, I started feeling better. And nothing, and I'm going to use the word nothing multiple times. Nothing feels better than feeling good.
Mm.
Feeling, but feeling like yourself, not feeling, yes, all the emotions, absolutely. You're going to feel them without a doubt. But the way it latches on to your organs and everything within you, and you don't want to eat and everything just ugh, whatnot. Yeah. Yeah. So in my particular case, it was my intuition. And I'm grateful for that because now I pay attention to my intuition. I do. I listen and I listen closely. How can I do that? That's part of the reset, the recalibration.
Mhm.
I slow down.
Mhm.
Slow down. I think about what's being asked of me. We get inundated all day long between social medias and our dinging of our phones. Even if we turn off the notifications, we get that nice big red dot over any kind of app on our phone that says, 10,000 unread emails. And yeah, exactly. It just flashes as if you're missing out on something.
Mhm.
You're missing out on something. And there's so many different apps. And we fall into FOMO, fear of missing out. And I invite my clients, please slow down. Just slow down. Nothing's going to change between 6 p.m. tonight and 8 a.m. tomorrow. You don't have to look at it. You don't.
It's so true. And there are two things. One, there's also a movement called JOMO, the joy of missing out. And another friend of mine has written a book about that. I'm sure there are other people who have done talks about that. But if we could come to that place of enjoying the slowdown. And the second thing is everything, this is what I believe, everything that happens to us or for us or through us, it's all in us. And if we stop and pay attention or slow down and pay attention and to use your words, notice. When we notice, that's when things can transform. Maybe not instantly, but it's the beginning of the process. It's the flicker of the light. It's the, oh, I'm paying attention. Like your body knew there was something not right in the sphere. And lo and behold, it was right and it knew and you
And it,
knew. So that's
absolutely.
amazing. And you talk also about urgency. Sometimes when we're in this and it's flight or fight, or you feel like that having a heart attack or whatever your feelings are, there's like, I got to do something. I got to do something right now. Can you talk a little bit about urgency?
Urgency is the lack of clarity. You don't have clarity. And that's why they tell you pretty much on social medias and everything else. You'll get a pop-up if you get a message from somebody that you don't know. Meta, rightfully so, sends you a message and says, if there's urgency in this message, it is spam. Well, I want you to think of that in your life. If there's urgency that you have to do something right now, okay? Mm, I want you to pause and really think about it. Really think about it because you do need to have the clarity. And you spoke about the responses to fear, okay? The freeze, flight, and lost for words. Um, freeze, flight, Why am I stuck?
It's all good.
It is all
We
good.
all know
That
those
proves that
5
I'm not AI.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Well, there's a fourth
Fight,
one.
yeah, fight, flight,
Flight,
freeze, and
freeze,
yeah,
fawn,
the other one, yeah.
fawn. I was a fawner. Yeah, I definitely was. And fawning is wanting to fix things immediately. And I gravitated towards my children. I fawned over them, and everything's going to be okay. I smothered them. I was definitely a helicopter mother when that happened because I wanted to make sure they were okay and everything else. And I fawned over them because it gave me purpose. That's what fawning does. It gives you
Mm.
purpose. My purpose was redirected. It wasn't directed in the right area. And when I flipped that and recognized that I was doing so and that I really needed to recalibrate myself, I needed to reset myself, the relationship that I had with myself. I needed to trust myself because once again, I was blindsided by this. Yeah, my body knew, but I didn't know. I didn't recognize it. I didn't see it. Maybe, some will say, well, maybe you didn't want to see it. That's a fair statement. That's absolutely a fair statement because we got into the certainty of our marriage. We just did. Everything was as it should be, as it should be.
Mm.
And there were cracks that formed, and I didn't realize it until this catastrophic thing happened. And in my particular case, and you know this because you helped me with my Oxford talk as
Mm.
we went through it, is that what my husband wanted to finish saying that day was that I've met someone and I love how that makes me feel, but I want that intoxication with you, not
Mm.
her.
Mhm.
Now, that was said months later because when he said those first three words, I've met someone, he handled this very poorly, by the way. I've met someone, I raged. I raged and he turtled. He went in, couldn't get a word out of him. I was livid for weeks, months until we went into counseling, coaching, groups, and they finally extracted out of him what he wanted to say. And it was comforting to hear that, but it still didn't erase his actions.
Mhm.
And then we had to work through that as well.
Right. Now, if someone's listening today to this and they are experiencing or have experienced betrayal in the past, where do they start? Where would someone start? Now, you've talked about pause, you've talked about taking one step at a time, you've talked about the 4 F's, you've talking about urgency and slowing down and noticing. Where should someone start?
The beautiful example that I like, and I have them here in my office, is a kaleidoscope. A kaleidoscope was a children's toy that you look through up to the sun or to the light, and it has a pattern. And then you turn it 1 degree, and the pattern changes. Still beautiful, but the pattern changes. I invite my clients to do the same thing, just 1 degree. Take an instant, something that still has a charge for you, and turn the story just 1 degree. Share the story with someone else. You know the story very well. You've been playing it in your mind for an eternity. But share the story with someone else, preferably professional, and have them repeat the story back to you,
Hmm.
turning the kaleidoscope just 1 degree so that you can see it just a little bit differently. Because now, today, you have wisdom, you have experience, you have words, you have the knowledge base to be able to look at a situation that you had 40 years ago when you didn't have the language, when you didn't know what was happening, and you saw it for what it was at the time, and you created a story around it that hit right here. Well, now it's time to examine that story and go, well, hold on a second. You know, did that happen the way that you're describing it? I know how it made you feel because feelings are the glue that hold the memory in
Mm.
place. But sometimes our memory of it is a little warped and we need to see it for what it is. You know, I use a perfect example from my own life is that I was mercilessly bullied in grade school. Absolutely. Horrifically. I was the biggest kid in my class because I was the oldest kid in my class because I have a January birthday. I was pudgy because my grandmother fed me really well and I adored her. And I was teased just, mm. And there was this one boy that I absolutely had the most amazing crush on. He was gorgeous to me. Now, when I look at the yearbook and I see him, with the acne and the braces and the really bad haircut, I'm like, really? Because in my story, he's the Adonis. He was the most popular kid in school and all of that. And he, one time in the cafeteria, very loudly said, Vanessa, you'd be pretty if you lost some weight. And that stuck with me for way too long. Now that I have distance and I have wisdom, I think about that often in terms of pivoting it 1 degree that he might have had things going on in his own life.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And having the pudgy girl, interested in him was prohibiting him from asking another girl, to the prom or whatever it was, because she would say, oh, well, Vanessa, and he'd have to explain, I'm not in, I complicated things. So that became the new story for me
Uh,
because I turned it 1 degree. Might not necessarily be true, but the other story is not true either. So
uh,
why not create a story that actually has plausibility to it and that you can release it and you can let it go? And I tell you, once I found the yearbook and I opened it up and I looked at him, I was like, what was I thinking? Very superficially, but to me, in my story, he was gosh. Oh, he was a
it's so
goddess.
it's so funny when we look back at some of the stories we've made up, some of the memories we have, and look and go, like you said, really? That? No, can't be. And I love that you're bringing this up too, because betrayal can happen in so many contexts. It's not just, as we said earlier, not just between life partners or that. I mean, that was a form of betrayal in your social construct. The He said this in a loud tone of voice and it was to put you down. Well, that is a form of betrayal. And I think we all have betrayals or micro betrayals or huge betrayals all the time throughout our life. And it's what we do with those that make a difference. And I want to emphasize this. You said something earlier about finding some of the positives, even if they're the tiniest little thing, and celebrate. And I was just recently in another Eric Ed Meets workshop, and he talked about, it was the Stop It Summit, and he talked about celebrating all of the little things, like physically celebrating. Yes, yes. Like the when Harry met Sally moment, and y'all have some of what she's having because it gives our bodies the physiological signals. It's okay. It's good. This is great. We want to do more of this. And I hear you saying that too. Just the tiniest little degree can shift everything, maybe not all at once, but it sets you on a completely different trajectory.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. And I make it a point now to thank God's source spirit every time those synchronicities happen, every single time, because I want more of them. Of course, I
Yeah.
want more of them. But I do one other thing, and I encourage my clients to do it. I have done it for the last 9 years, is a win journal. I write down every single win, small or large. My commute, my commute is so small. It absolutely is. But if I can make it to my office door to door from my house to my office in 7 minutes, that's a win. That
Woo.
means I caught all the green lights. And I write that down because that's a win for me. That's a win that I appreciate. And it happens all the time. It does. And I appreciate, and it's odd for me to say this, I appreciate the social medias. I do. They put my work in front of people. And maybe the people that they're putting it in front of feel really alone. And I know that they can get bombarded with
Mhm.
courses and books and this and that and whatnot. And I'm very different in that respect. I am really 95% of the time, I am one to one,
Hmm.
one to one couple, because they need that space. When you're a couple and you're in a group setting, you're waiting your turn and you're listening to other people and you're comparing. And comparison is the thief of joy. It
Mhm.
absolutely is. And you then have this ability or this, it you wind up focusing on other couples rather than focusing on your own. And that's my hesitation with groups. A lot of people have asked me to host groups, and I do for the most part. I've done it pro bono for years. I did, but I realized it was such a disservice because people were waiting for the opportunity to ask a question, and then when they had me, they wanted more. They wanted more. They needed more, and I'm in a group setting. I have to spread myself. And yeah, no, I one on one. And I know that goes against the grain. I know all the business gurus, come at me and they're like, "Oh, you have to do a course, make passive income while you sleep." No. For me, no. My best work is one on one.
Absolutely. No question. And I know I would encourage everybody, whether you work with Vanessa or not, if you need the services of Vanessa, whenever we have that little situation or huge situation where we need a course correction, it's always important to connect with somebody. We can't do this all by ourselves. We are social beings and we need to connect. I think it's one of the five major needs, love and belonging. Glasser talks about those. Love and belonging is absolutely huge. And so I appreciate the work that you do in the world and the services that you do offer because you hold people's hearts and you respect and you care, and I think that that is so so important. And let's wrap this up with you talked about a pause or a breath, an honest conversation, and I think you had a story around that that you wanted to share.
Oh, well, it's actually not even my story. It's Eric's story. And that's how you and I connected is,
Yes.
is through Eric. And Eric has such a beautiful story. And I I initially I was a little hesitant on it because I was like, yeah, no, I don't buy it. But I saw it firsthand for myself. So my building where my office is has a smoking area. It does. It's a little further away from the parking lot, but I see people there and I see some familiar faces. So I go over there just to chit chat because that's how I am, but I see it. And what they do is they take the cigarette, you can see that they're so stressed out. So stressed out. And they grab the cigarette and they put the lighter and they take that first drag and they let it out. The average cigarette has 20 of those. Absolutely. 20 deep breaths and hold and release. And then the very last one, when it's the butt, right at the end, what do?
I don't know. I've never smoked, so
They take it all in as much as they can. It goes all the way down to their hips and they flick. And I know that cigarettes can be addictive. I get that. But when people stop smoking, I know that they're missing the nicotine, but they're also missing the breathing
yes.
because they have taken 20 deep inhales. Granted, it's pollution. I get that. I get that. But it's still they're breathing in, expanding the chest, and letting it go. Glorious. So I encourage my clients to smoke without the cigarette.
Yes.
And I thank Eric for that because he shared that early on, that example, and I loved it. I loved it for a different reason because of the way he tells it. Glorious, absolutely. But I had to see it for myself. Like and not to dispute Eric or anything of that because he's brilliant, but I needed to see it for myself, and I saw it. I absolutely saw it. So that's another technique that I encourage my clients to do because it forces you to slow down. Just slow down. It's okay.
Mm.
It's okay. And I tell my employees, because I'm still a C-suite executive, nothing's going to change between 6 p.m. tonight and 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. It's okay. Go home. It's okay. And we're in such a society now where we're just full of so much angst because we're so worried because our companies betray us, especially towards the end of the year, because they're focused on shareholders. So, what happens at the end of the year? Lots of layoffs. So, even if you've been a great employee, great numbers, everything else, mass layoffs, mass layoffs. What happens? They go home to their kids near Christmas and they're venting about getting let go of. And their 8 year old, their 10-year old, their 12-year old hears that angst of how the company just let their father go or their mother go. Are they going to grow up and be loyal to a company? That becomes generational betrayal.
Hmm.
They remember that. I remember it. My grandmother was paymaster for a brewery in Wisconsin. She had to be known by her first initial and last name. Her office was off the side of the secretarial pool. She didn't have an office with windows like all the other directors. She was paymaster. She was responsible for all of the payments for all of the employees. And she worked in an 8 by 8 non-windowed space with her first initial and last name. She decided, and I'm so ridiculously proud of her, she 20 years to the day she retired. And when they sat her down and said, your pension, yeah, that's a word that we don't hear much anymore. But her pension was either monthly for the rest of her life, or she could take a lump sum. And she decided to take it monthly. She she was 55 when this happened. She lived to 100.
Yes.
45 years of payments because they didn't give her the proper office or the recognition that she was a female in that role. She had a male assistant who acted as the paymaster. He
Hmm.
was the one that went to meetings and so forth. She went to the meetings as his secretary, but the small circle knew it was her. But
Interesting.
yes, absolutely. So our companies betray us and they don't realize the trickle down effect that has. Because I always remembered that story. Always. I heard it from the time I was 8 years old. And it stuck with me so much so that when I turned 55, I was like, oh, I really wish I could. I wish I could sleep. Not that I have a pension or anything, but just to have that
Yes.
opportunity to do so, to honor her for that. But I do it in different ways. I do it in different ways.
And whether or not we're in the situation where your grandmother was, and I'm sure there are people in the world who, excuse me, are experiencing that to that level, or whether it's more subtle, because there's so much subtle betrayal going on. It's all valid and it all needs to be dealt with. First of all, in ourselves. So, Vanessa, we could talk for another couple hours on this topic because there's just so many elements to it. There are so many aspects. There are so many rich, juicy human parts of us that we could just open up. But we're coming to a close. What would you like to leave our listeners with today?
Well, before I answer that question, was that an invitation for me to come back for number 200?
Oh, certainly. When I get to 200, let's talk again, but I'm sure we'll talk many times between now and then.
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, let's see. What do I want to leave your audience with? It's the power of one conversation. You never know who you are talking to, and they have the capacity to be able to say something to you that just like that, it unlocks something for you, and you're like, wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. I'm going to give you an example. Um, 2 minutes. We saw Jerry Seinfeld last weekend, my husband and I. My
Oh,
husband is a huge Jerry Seinfeld fan. I am so used to him in syndication at 11 p.m. that I would fall asleep to him because my husband would be watching him in bed and I would fall asleep. So his voice tends to put me to sleep. No respect to him. Okay. So we went and I was trying really hard not to fall asleep. But he said something that was so profound that I sat up in my seat and I was like, wow, that was a very pivotal moment for me because he said one of the things that about himself was that he takes joy in complaining. Like complaining gives him a sense of joy because he gets it up and out. He complains about something, he gets it up and out. My husband's the same way. And I never thought that that actually brings him joy. I, before betrayal, would try to fix whatever he is complaining about. After betrayal, I let him be. I was like, yeah, you have to fix that. That's on you. But I still felt it. I still had those little triggers of I want to help, I want to help, I want to help. But I've done a lot of work and it's about me and it's about our relationship and whatnot. But I heard that one line about it's joy. And I was like, that's it. 35 years I've been married next week. I've known my husband for another 10 years prior to that. And it took a comedian on stage to make a joke that suddenly really resonated with me. And on the ride home, because I was quiet, because I'm now going through the movie of my relationship, and my husband says, so what'd you think? And I'm like, wow, that was interesting. He goes, yeah, the line that really got to me was the joy in complaining. He goes, that's totally me. That's totally me. I find so much joy in complaining and speechless, speechless. So you never know what you're going to hear from
Mm.
someone. And unless you have a conversation or you see somebody talking, not AI talking, somebody talking with this, their brain, they have a cognitive thinking where they tell you exactly their perspective because sometimes their perspective changes your perspective
Yes.
and you're free. Oh my goodness, don't you want to be free?
Mm.
Especially if you've been holding on to something for a really long
Absolutely.
time. Absolutely. So, what I want to leave them with is you don't need to reinvent your life. You absolutely don't. To come back to yourself. You don't. You don't. Sometimes what's required is slowing down. Just slow down. You have permission to slow it all down and tell yourself the truth. Be truthful to yourself. It's okay. It's okay to replay those circumstances and turn that kaleidoscope 1 degree and see it a little differently so that you can be released from it.
I love that. And whether you find joy in complaining or whether you find joy in other ways, definitely look to find joy. Vanessa, this has been so rich and juicy. And thank you so much for sharing vulnerably about your own journey and your own story. And we just so appreciate you being here with us today and for the ongoing work that you're doing in the world. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're most welcome. And for those of you listening, we do this because you matter. Thank you for being here.